Nigeria's former Deputy Senate President, Ike Ekweremadu, and his wife are pulling all resources at their disposal together to prove their innocence at a British Magistrate Court. The former Deputy Senate President appeared before Uxbridge Magistrate Court in London yesterday, facing charges under Britain's Modern Slavery Act. However, the case has been adjourned till July 7 at Westminster Magistrate Court to enable the UK Attorney General Suella Braverman to determine whether the case will be tried in the country or Nigeria. A large delegation from the Nigeria High Commission was also present in the public gallery alongside the senator's 2 adult children. Joining us on this show this morning as we discuss the charges slammed on the Ekweremadus and recent developments around the former Deputy Senate President's case is Liborous Oshoma, a lawyer and public affairs analyst. Welcome to the morning show, Liborous.
Yeah, good morning.
Good to have you here. Well,
Morning.
Good morning.
The details are out there in the public domain. But what do you think? Why is jurisdiction so important in this particular case? Because we're told that the adjournment is based on the issue of jurisdiction, whether the case is to be tried in the UK or in Nigeria. Could you help us explain that? And what do you think generally of the case? How serious is it?
Yeah, the issue of jurisdiction is very germane because if there's any offense at all, the implication is that it originated from Nigeria because the transactions were actually discussed and negotiated here, even though the act was to be carried out in the UK, and the letter that also emanated from the office of, or from the Ekweremadu stated that much, that the reason for going abroad is for him to donate organ to the daughter. So definitely a prosecutor will look at all of these related issues in charging. So to find out if an offense had been committed on the soil of the UK or the offense was actually committed in Nigeria. Because once the court does not have jurisdiction to hear the matter, it becomes every other thing will fall flat on its face. So that's why the first thing that the prosecutor will consider will be issue of jurisdiction, and it is very germane. But there are 2 issues here. One is, if the matter is here, I don't think an offense will be established by virtue of the National Health Act of 2014. It's very sketchy and not clear on organ transplant and donation. But in the UK, it is clear, it's explicit. The Human Organ Transplant Act of 1990, that law actually came into force in April 1st, 1990, forbids those that are not genetically related to you from donating organs to persons. But sometimes ago, that law was expanded to also include unrelated persons. But this unrelated person, you must also establish the fact that they are not induced and it is not for financial gain and that they have consent. So all of these are the issues that if the matter is to be heard in the UK, the Ekweremadu will have to contend with. But if it is in Nigeria, the only law that covers this field is the National Health Act 2014, and it doesn't have such provisions.
What do you make of the response of the Nigerian government to this unfolding saga? The fact that there's been a delegation of senators, presumably using their own money, although we cannot presume, that hasn't been stated explicitly, and the fact that the Nigerian government is wading into this, taking the side of Senator Ike Ekweremadu and even assisting with legal help. Ordinarily, in diplomatic circles, once your citizen is arrested, what the embassies or the High Commission does is they send delegates to monitor, they hold watching brief to ensure that such a person is given fair trial, fair hearing. It happens here. In most cases, when you see these foreign nationals charged to court, the moment the embassy is aware, they send delegations, they send 1 or 2 persons, they send lawyers, and maybe their legal department, the head of the legal department will send a delegate to ensure that, the trial is fair. But what we see playing out here in the case of Ekweremadu is absurd. And that's why people are angry, really. That if, has Nigerian government been this responsive
to Nigerians that are facing similar challenges or even minor challenges, you know, in foreign countries, Nigerians in diaspora. Even to get Nigerian passport, you go through hell. And here you have a big man, quote and unquote, a politically exposed person who has who did not do his due diligence very well, and then the law is looking into his activities, and all of a sudden, Nigerian government is so interested. The senators are all trooping, typical of them, in droves to go pay solidarity visit. For me, it's ridiculous. It's an outrageous display of irresponsibility, and the best thing that Nigerian government should do at this time should be to hold a watching brief, being a citizen, even though they don't do it in other cases. Hold a watching brief and ensure that Ekweremadu, he's rich enough to get, you know, higher QC in the UK, to ensure that he gets fair trial and ensure that the laws are complied with. But this idea of sending delegations to go and see, it's a private matter. It has nothing to do with the state. Even though, yes, you can say it's it's health related, is a family member. But the question you would ask is, there are a lot of Nigerians here whose family members are suffering, you know, even worse fate as a result of the actions or inactions of government. And how much has this government and these so-called senators and the government officials, what have they done to alleviate this suffering? And if we had laws, Ekweremadu, a senator, if they had made laws that will ensure that some of these facilities are here, he probably would be in England, UK, you know, tending to family. That operation probably would have been carried out here. But even though you have hospitals that can carry out such operations here, but we know that they don't trust the doctors here.
But there are hospitals that carry out such operations.
Of course,
successfully.
Successfully. Yes, successfully.
I think Obafemi Awolowo University.
That one is far. That one is far. Private hospitals in Lagos, here in Abuja. Yeah. If you come to Bagara General Hospital, they do. There are people who are on chemo daily, and so if you go there now, the queue is very long. Because I live in that area. So all of this, one would have expected that government should be able to alleviate the suffering of the ordinary man. But here, that's why a lot of people are happy.
Okay.
Or that is a sensitive case. Okay. You expect Nigerians to be sympathetic, but they're not.
I'd like you to sound off for this contentious 21-year-old or 15-year-old, because it's been going back and forth. The immigration authorities came out to say recently, and they took a position on the matter. I mean, what's your take on this back and forth? And the prosecutor, there's a story that the prosecutor was still insisting that he's 15. So there's this back and forth.
There is a big problem. It's also, for me, it's a challenge to our system, our data gathering, our data keeping, you know, structures. Here, a man can, if you commit an offense in Ajegule today, I'm using Ajegule because doctors started with Ajegule. If you commit an offense in Ajegule today, you are charged as a first offender. Go to Aja, commit the same offense. You'll be charged as a first offender because there are no data. So, in the same vein, we've had situations where footballers, Nigerian footballers, would declare a different age here, and they get to international tournament and they are discovered to be, you know, above those age. So here, it is how old a man claims to be. In most cases, when you get to passport office, because they are not available record. Even where they are, there's an affidavit to that's why even in civil service, when I worked in University of Ibadan, a man due for retirement, we bring an affidavit that as at the time I fill this form, my right age was not stated. And so he's bringing an affidavit to correct that age. You know, he will reduce his age. So these are some of the challenges. Because anybody that is listening to this issue, you have a young man saying he's 15 or 14. The documents from the home country is stating a different age. You now begin to ask yourself, is it that this man's status or identity was not captured as at the time of birth? It is true. Nigerian does not know whether you exist. There are so many people in Nigeria now who there are no records of them, you know, existing. So it is, that's why you can use different age for
until recently, you could use a different age for your passport and use a different age to open a bank account. But now with the National Identity Card Management, they are trying to synchronize all of those information, which is still a very big problem. So, and then another thing we should also not lose sight of the fact of is the fact that when Nigerians go abroad, let me use our local parlance, where they want chop aduro, they can tell any stories. So the boy probably got there, and he's been tutored, and he discovered that, look, if this thing fails, I will have to go back to Nigeria. And so he needed to bring up any stories. Just the same way you have so many of them saying that I was involved in human trafficking in my village, or that I was involved in bunkery. They came to look for me and they burned down my family house. I found myself in UK, and so I'm seeking for asylum. So you have all sorts of stories. Yes, but the challenge here is the fact that the states and the documents are conflicting, and the boy is saying this is my age, the state is saying this, and the UK authority, knowing fully well there are no data, available data to prove, for certainty, will say no, we'll take this testimony and we'll not take this one. It's a slap on our face.
Okay, the Ekweremadus have sued NIMC, right? They've sued NIS, they sued Stanbic IBTC, they joined Stanbic IBTC and UBA. They're asking for biodata information of, they said, David Wamini. How helpful would that be? Because the argument as put out in the papers is that they need that information to establish as part of their defense in the UK court. Would that be helpful?
Yes, very helpful, because before...
But do they need to sue? An ordinary demand could have...
You don't need... That's why I said all of these are pointed to a failed, structure here. Or an ordinary demand application, by the relevant authority could have released all of these documents to them. But I think for the bank, they need to sue because of the confidentiality between the customer and the bank. So in this case, if the matter were a matter under police investigation, then Ekweremadu would not need to sue, because the police will simply get a court order and request for this information from the bank, and they will supply those information. But this is a private matter, it's a civil matter, and so over here. And so he would need all of this information. And the best way he can access those information is to go to court, to get a court order to compel all of these institutions to disclose the information, because the boy definitely will have a bank account before they met him, because the stories are not adding up. His brother claimed that they both sell computer accessories together. He's claiming to be a casual worker in a construction site. So all of this, there's definitely the belief that he has an account somewhere, and he supplied all of this information as at when he opened the account. And then also, he would definitely also have a BVN. And so all of this information will be there. And that's if those informations are true. If they're in line with what he's saying, what they are saying, then they will be very, very helpful. But if otherwise, then they would need to get, a super lawyer in the UK. And also ensure, because this is the first hurdle. They are, like I said, they are chasing the first hurdle. The second hurdle is to show that it was not for pecuniary gain. And that if it is established that it is for pecuniary gain, then the Ekweremadus will be culpable in the UK.
If they do manage to make their case, and if they do manage to be acquitted, will there be any criminal liability for their accuser, the 15, 21-year-old, the homeless boy, or the grown businessman?
Yeah, yes, he might certainly either be prosecuted there or sent back here. Because maybe his visa might just be for medical reasons. And so, if the reasons for granting a visa fails, he's supposed to come back here. And lying to the authority under oath, because before they obtain his statement further, when they handed him over to police, he would have been cautioned, And lying to the authority under oath would also, make him culpable. So they might either prosecute him or just to avoid using public funds for an offense that would not really mean anything to them, they might push him back here and hand him over to the authority here for, whatever crime he has committed here.
So, in what we saw out of the court proceedings, I think the UK authority was talking about the Modern Slavery Act of 2015.
Yeah.
Can you expatiate on that act?
Yeah, that's modern slavery, because let me start from the Human Organ Transplant Act. In before 1989, there was this high rise in organ transplant, organ harvesting. The UK, you have a lot of rich people from the UK, the wealthy ones from the UK, who feasted on, the vulnerable ones from Turkey. And so you had a lot of, and to curtail that, the Human Organ Transplant Act was enacted because they also viewed it as slavery, modern slavery. And then, but now the Modern Slavery Act is all-encompassing. It expands beyond just organ harvesting. Because what you now find is you have a situation where people bring in, underage people for house helps. And then you also have, some of them are used as for human trafficking. And so the Slavery Act, it's an encompassing law of, both the organ harvesting, what do you call it, human trafficking, and this, that also includes human trafficking, though. The what we call house help and nannies here, because you have situations where you have a lot of young people that had been taken abroad, under the guise of, look, I'm going to send you to school, and then they end up there as house helps, as workers, and then in most cases they escape from home and they go report to the authority that they are being tortured by people that brought them to the UK. So, and if in most cases, to establish this crime, there must be, these people must be underage. So like this case of this boy, if it is discovered that truly he doesn't have consent, because if you have consent, you can decide to do whatever you want to do. But if you do not have consent and then you're underprivileged, the law also protects you. So that's why they're looking at it from a broader perspective and not from that just narrow perspective of, oh, is it for financial gain? But here, even if it is not for financial gain, does he have consent to actually do what he's doing?
Well, I was going to ask you, what lessons can we extract from this? And I thought you were a bit harsh about the expression of solidarity by the members of the Senate who sent a delegation and the British High Commission, considering the antecedents of Senator Ekweremadu and the fact that, yes, it's a private matter, but it's also a very sympathetic, difficult situation for the family. I know you are just stating the rules, that it's a private matter, let him go and deal with it.
Harsh?
Well, maybe it came across to me like that. But what are the lessons that you think we can learn, even now,
Fantastic.
from what has happened?
To first and foremost state that I wasn't harsh. As we speak today, I cannot tell you the number of Nigerians who are going through similar predicament as a result of failure, who will be sympathetic to their cause. These are leaders that we have collectively donated our right to in return for protections. But what do? They fail out of us, and then at every opportunity, they jet out to these countries where other people have provided these facilities for their people, other people who were donated right to. And so when it happens to them, it's quite ordinarily you expect, because we're talking about, yes, the Nigerians are very emotional people. When it has to do with someone's child, we should be sympathetic. But these are people who we head out as leaders. These are people, not just they head themselves out and swore to an oath to be responsive to all of us. But at the end, what happens? They enrich themselves. Name any leader in Nigeria today, if we are to look at the books, that if he leaves office will not be prosecuted. But in all of this, it is quick for them to jet out. And then, lastly, The laws here, if it were, like I said, if it were in Nigeria, this man would, no offense has been committed anyway, whether the boy is 5 years or not, whether his parents is given peanuts or not, nobody will talk about it because of the states that our leaders have pushed us into. So that is why, for me, I think I'm even mild, putting it mildly. And then the lessons, what are the lessons? And it's very simple. If you are a leader, you are a position of authority, you can say he's a lawmaker, he's not a governor, but he has, the influence, he has the privileges to make laws for a better society. He also had relationship with some of these governors, commissioners, ministers, to ensure that they facilitate some of this infrastructure. What did he do? He built a massive edifice, a church in his community, in remembrance of his father. That's okay. If all of this, if our government officials had made Nigeria half as comfortable as these countries, they wouldn't need to go to these places where they are embarrassed. Imagine a senator and a wife being arrested at the airport in Nigeria here. The next thing you will hear is, do you know who I am? So this embarrassment would have been avoided if you had made your home a home for all. All of this embarrassment of having to go abroad, send your kids abroad and they take to drugs, and in some cases, because if we have to dig further, people will now begin to ask questions. At that age, what substance could this child have been exposed to? But I don't want to go into all of that because these are personal issues. I sympathize with the family. But so also, there are so many, in the place of one leader, there are millions of Nigerians who are going through the same challenge. I was in Otta recently and I shed tears. And I'm like, look at the state people are living in Nigeria. And we are debating whether a leader is... we should be sympathetic to a leader or not. So for me, I think I was very mild. And I also think if our leaders, if the government had been that half sympathetic to the cause of Nigerians who are in jail abroad for minor offenses. Recently, a commissioner was on this platform from Edo State, and he narrated the ordeal he went through in the hands of the Italian authority. If not that he had the money, only God knows, by now he would probably still be in jail. But there are, in the place of that one man, there are so many Nigerians for minor offenses, for mistaken identity, for nothing at all, for the fact that they are just black or that they are Nigerians. Because once you are carrying a Nigerian passport, the presumption is that you are guilty because of, the antecedent of some of us. And it is for you to prove your innocence. So some of these persons are there going through the same hole. How much sympathy or delegation has the Nigerian government extended to them? The young man that was sometimes ago hanged in Malaysia or Singapore, his case had been tried even at the Supreme Court level before the Nigerian authority became aware. But if he was one senator, the moment he's arrested at the airport, we'll send delegation. So the lessons for us is, let's avoid all of this embarrassment. Let's make our home habitable. If it's habitable, then we'll stay here and we'll be the one to protect our leaders and not the other way around.
Well, since you spoke of the lack of justice and equity and also embarrassment, I have to change the topic and ask you for your take on the dramatic resignation of the former CJN Tanko Mohammed and the whole dancing naked in the marketplace that preceded that resignation, the accusations that were made and what's been described as a leaked memo. What are your thoughts on the whole situation?
First and foremost, I don't think that I won't tag that memo a leaked memo. There's a new court, and some of you are judges in that court, which is the court of public opinion. If you know how people share videos of Arise morning program, it's like this is where judgment is passed these days. And so, because the judiciary ordinary is a very conservative arm of government, you can hear evil, you can see evil, but don't speak evil. Everybody know here. So, for judges at that highest level, If they want the memo to be a secret document, it will be a secret document. Intentionally send that memo out because it was obvious that nothing would happen, nothing would be done, especially given the antecedent of this government. And so the best way was to, this is a court of law, the best way was to take this matter to the court of public opinion. And so the debate generated by the court of public opinion necessitated the CJN throwing in the towel, because the longer he stays put, the more detrimental it will be to both the system and to him in person. And now that he has thrown in the towel, the next thing you will hear is some of these allegations would be, you know, the allowances will be paid, accommodation will be taken care of, lights will be restored skeletally because now there's no diesel. And then some will go for trainings and back, extra code will be paid, and then we're back to square one until it happens again. It's a systemic structure. Sometimes in 2012, 2013, during the Ayo Salami saga, it was the Alhaji Lai Mohammed, Professor Sheshage were very vociferous on the need to whittle down the powers of the CJN, on appointment of the members of the NJC. But today, these same people are either in government or advisors to those in government. And now everybody's silent. Nobody's discussing the powers of the CJN as regards the appointment of members of the NJC again. So a situation where a CJN is involved in allegations of corruption and mismanagement, who ought to investigate him? The NJC. And 85% of the members are appointed by the CJN. So what it means is you will have to resort to the court of public opinion, which was what eventually, got the CJN out.
All right, interesting times for us in this country. Real quickly, I'd like to take you back to the Ekweremadu case. 7th of July, that's when they said the court is going to start all over again. I mean, what should we expect?
I think that the last time he was not, I don't know if he's been arraigned. Because as at when he was arrested, because they couldn't keep him beyond 48 hours, they had to take him before a court for a proper order to keep him till he's probably arraigned. And then pending, crossing the T's and dotting the I's, and then expecting the Attorney General's recommendation. Because here, Attorney General will take forever. But over there, the law is very clear. So the Attorney General will look at the charge, look at the offense, look at the proof of evidence, and then possibly determine whether he will be charged or not. It's either they are charging him or they are, transferring the matter to Nigeria. So, but I think from the back and forth that they have been going, that they might likely charge him.
Okay, thank you very much, Liborous Oshoma, for joining us.
Always my pleasure.
We'll keep a watching brief on the matter.
Yes.
But it seems you say this is a court.
Yes, this is a court.
As your lordship pleases.
Yes, as your lordship pleases.